Shalom. Shalom, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to End Time Individual Decisions for Yashar'al. Yashar'al, End Time Individual Decisions. My name is Symmanayah, and these are reflections of the words that I am compelled to present to an awakening nation. Hear these words, O Yashar'al, and examine them. And these words are for set apart Yashar'al, those who are drawn by the Almighty Father Yahuah, who have come to recognize that no one can come to the Father except by Yahusha Mashyach. With that said, let's get started. My brothers and sisters, truly end times will become more and more real with each passing day. Though we may not be experiencing the intensity as others, make no mistake, it has begun. The refining process, the fulfillment of his promise, our Almighty Father's promises regarding discipline, regarding vengeance and wrath. Look around, my brothers and sisters. All that is written will indeed be fulfilled. In this segment of Yashar'al, End Time Individual Decisions, because really, each of us must realize and will realize that we must give an account to the deeds that are done in these bodies that we have received out of favor by the Almighty Father. This segment focuses on pray, belief, fear, know, discern, trust, and act. You see, my brothers and sisters, there are many individuals in fellowship. There are many individuals who claim to be set apart. And I ask some questions. How can we be set apart if we don't fully understand the dynamics of these 7 key factors? Pray, belief, fear, know, discern, trust, and act. Hear these words, my brothers and sisters. Tough decisions are arising among us each day, and they will become very challenging. There will be many times we will face tough decisions as we find ourselves being gathered together to prepare to fulfill the final exodus as it is written. I asked this question before, I ask again. Are you 100% confident that those whom you are in fellowship are among the ranks of individuals drawn by the Almighty Yahuah? Are you 100% confident that your moray, your teacher, your leader, your shepherd, or anyone who is indeed outspoken and influences your set-apart walk, are you confident that they are indeed your brother or sister? With end times before us, we will grow to expect understanding that there will be a great tribulation and we will witness the final exodus. There is no doubt in my mind. It would be wise to consider the realities of what must and will take place as end times get intense. It would be wise to discern the methods for knowing what is expected of the one in the mirror. Thus, individual decision. What is expected of the one in the mirror? And to collectively look at what is expected for an awakening nation set apart under the banner of Yashar'al, consisting of both Abri and Goy, or commonly known Hebrews and Goyim and Gentiles, consisting of both Hebrews and Gentiles that are made one by Yahushua Mashiach, that are made one, brought together by Yahushua Mashiach, those drawn of the Most High. Yashar'al, oh set apart Yashar'al, I want to pray that the following passage will resonate within your spirit as you consider these words, how they will line up with these 7 important factors. Romans 10:13-15 reads, "For everyone who calls on the name of Yahuah shall be saved. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without one proclaiming? And how shall they proclaim if they are not sent? As it has been written, how pleasant are the feet of those who bring the good news of peace, who bring the good news of good." My brothers and sisters, notice here that Shaul is asking questions, for there are processes There are things that take place that bring one to the position to obey the Most High when it comes to preaching his word, spreading his words, echoing his living instructions as directed. My brothers and sisters, notice Yahuah is asking questions. Now, let me continue. How can there be set apart children of Yahuah if we do not pray? Looking at the first key factor. If we do not acknowledge him, if we do not pray, if we do not yield and seek to discern the Spirit, how can we say we are set apart? If we meet anyone who is talking about fellowship and being a part of the family, ask the question, what do they think prayer means? What do they think it means to pray? Now, let me share this, O Yashar'al. John 6:44, I've read it before, and I'll read it again. No one is able to come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I shall raise him up in the last day. John 12:32 says, if I am lifted up from the earth, shall draw all men to myself. Here we see Yahusha being quoted by Yohanan. Some may say Yochanan. Some versions say John. It goes on, let me go on and take you to John 14:6. It says, Yahusha said to him, I am the way, and the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And I say to you, my brothers and sisters, there must be prayer. There must be prayer in this connection. And it's time for us to ask questions of one another. What do we think about the word pray? Consider 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18. 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18. It reads as follows. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, in all circumstances give thanks, for this is the desire of the Almighty One in Messiah Yahusha for you. You see, my brothers, when they say pray without ceasing, this does not mean just rant and just throw words up to the Most High. We have an obligation to pray and seek what he wants and what he desires for us. Prayer is not only speaking and making our requests known to the Most High. Prayer is also about discerning his words, his response. Prayer also, without ceasing, means there's communication with the Most High. And if we are not vessels of the Most High, if he did not use us, can we say we are his? If he used us and we are his and we are his vessels, then he worked in us, through us, one towards another. Therefore, we have an obligation to discern when he's speaking through a brother or sister, through another, towards us, as well as us towards another. Prayer without ceasing is communicating with the Most High. Remember, my brothers and sisters, he had opened the mouth of a donkey, and the donkey spoke. It is said, if necessary, he will cause the stones to cry out. So let us be mindful, my brothers and sisters. Let us be mindful. Prayer is indeed a part of the word pray. Moving right along, how will we be able to come together and set apartness if we do not have a position of belief? We must be able to believe, or otherwise, how do we have fellowship? There can be no fellowship if we don't share the same belief. And I believe the Most High will indeed bring unity among Yashar'al. And we will grow to understand what it means to believe what is indeed set apart. Our belief will be molded and shaped and ratified in the coming days, O Yashar'al. Hebrews 11:1 say, and belief is the substance of what is expected, the proof of what is not seen. So when people constantly say, show me, show me, show me, show me. And one would say, it is my belief that the Most High have sent his set apart spirit in Yahusha's name. It is my belief that the Almighty Father Yahuah is directing my footsteps. It is my belief that I am indeed a set apart one. Hebrews 11:6 said, but without belief, it's impossible to please him. For he who comes to the Almighty One has to believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who earnestly seek him. So I say to you, my brothers and sisters, if our beliefs are not in line with what is written, then there's a problem. How then can we walk in fellowship if we don't share the same belief? And how do we come to know him and receive knowledge of him and knowledge of what we should do if we do not fear him? And this word fear in these end times, I've heard many brothers say, I'm not afraid of nothing. I'm not afraid of nothing. I'm going to wait on Yah. I'm going to wait on Yah. Yah got my back. We speak words sometimes that cause one to not give attention to the need to fear the Almighty Yahuah. Sure, we're not supposed to fear what man can do to us, but we must indeed fear Yahuah to grow in prayer life, to be able to pray successfully, and he hears us, to believe, to be able to acknowledge our belief with all sincerity. In order to get to know him, we must fear him and him alone. Who is aware of Proverbs 1:7 says, the fear of Yahuah is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and discipline. So you see, my brothers and sisters, if you want to know, we must fear him and him alone. And in our prayer, in our belief, we will get to know him. For the beginning of all knowledge, the beginning of knowing, starts with him. That was Proverbs 1:7. Proverbs 14:26 says, and the fear of Yahuah is strong trust, and his children have a place of refuge. I've read this before. Surely enough, in these last days, people are going to start thinking, where is that place of refuge? And I ask you, do you fear Yahuah? Do you trust him? Do you know him? How can we have fellowship with one another and acknowledge the Almighty Father Yahuah sent his set-apart spirit in Yahusha's name if we cannot discern and confirm who he is and how he communicates to us? So to know him requires us to discern and believe that it is indeed him. It requires a degree of trust, my brothers and sisters. If we fear him, let us also trust him. Let us also discern that it's indeed him. You see, this walk requires a process of life, a process of set-apartness, a process of discipline. It is time, O Yashar'al, for us to realize it's not as simple as some will have you believe. There are people who will say, all you have to do is follow his 10 commandments, laws and statutes. All you have to do is this, like it's a simple formula. All you have to do is love Yahuah with all your heart, mind, and body and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. Well, we must ask ourselves, what does that entail? How do we go about doing that? How do we exercise the discipline to do that? It is a process, O Yasharal. It is a process of set-apartness that has been established by the Most High. Who is aware of Romans 12:1? He says here, Shalum is quoted, is mentioning rather, I call upon you, therefore, brothers, through the compassion of the Almighty One, to present your bodies a living offering, set apart, well-pleasing to the Almighty One, your reasonable worship. You see, there's work to be done, O Yashar'al. Psalm 62:8 says, trust in him at all times, you people. Pour out your heart before him. The Almighty One is a refuge for us, Selah. We will see how powerful this is when we see that we are informed that the Almighty One is a refuge. That word refuge will become more and more important as end times become intense and cataclysmic times rise across this world. Proverbs 3:5, 6, and 7 says, trust in Yahuah with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. Know him in all your ways, and he makes all your paths straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear Yahuah and turn away from evil. Now let me just mention, my brothers and sisters. He says, do not be wise in your own eyes. You see, our eyes oftentimes, based off of the things we see, or we think we see with our spiritual eye, we believe we are becoming wise. I've heard people say, yes, I'm wise. I think it's erroneous for anyone to say, I am wise. I think, and I am compelled to believe, we can share the words that we are compelled to present. We can share that we believe the Most High has given us wisdom. But it is to those who witness our behavior, those who witness our actions, those who hear our words. And only if our words have been made alive by the Almighty Father, if only that is confirmed, then it is indeed the wisdom of the Most High working within us and through us. Do we demonstrate trust in the Almighty Father when we offer ourselves to him? Indeed, we do. My brothers and sisters, I could have very well used the 7 key components, the 7th key component as obey, but I was compelled to present the word act. Act. For I believe act and obey are akin and linked to one another in definition. Consider this, my brothers and sisters. Exodus 19:5-6 says, and now if you diligently obey my voice and shall guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be to me a reign of priests and a set apart nation. Those are the words which you are to speak to Yashar'al. This is what was said in Exodus 19:5-6. And many people don't realize when it say a reign of priests and a set apart nation, and people say we're going to be kings and priests, they don't realize actually, my brothers and sisters, what this is saying for us to realize is when Yahuah, Abba Father, works in us, when he takes stage in our lives, those that are next to us or around us, we then yield to when he is speaking through us through another. If he's speaking to you, and it is indeed him speaking through you and guiding you to instruct us or to provide words of set apartness to us, you are at that moment demonstrating the actions of a sovereign or a king or a priest. And if he moves to another to speak to another, then that person is speaking as a reign. People try to get you to think, hey, all of us going to be priests and all of us going to be kings, or all of us going to be sovereigns and we're going to rule over everybody. This is not so, my brothers and sisters. The life in the passage of scripture, if we are to walk in the Spirit, if we are to obey him, if we are to be filled with the Spirit, if we are to be as one with him, then it is he, our sovereign, our commonly word used king, Yahusha, that is working through us. It is not every one of Yasharal is a king or a priest in the fact that we're ruling over somebody outside of Yasharal, or we ruling. Everyone isn't gonna be as it is said by many erroneous teachings. Again, I submit to you, Yasharal, it's about yielding and recognizing when the Spirit of Yahusha is speaking through us, one towards another. Jeremiah 7:23 says, but the word I did command them, saying, obey my voice, and I shall be your almighty one, and you my people, and walk in all the ways that I have commanded you, so that it be well with you. In spite of all that's getting ready to unfold, my brothers and sisters, if we are walking in obedience, in other words, if we know how to act, when to act, as end times come, in spite of all that will be before us, we will understand that the Most High's plan will be fulfilled, and we will grow to know how to act, how we are supposed to respond, when to yield to one another and to his chosen leaders. John 3:36 read, but he who believes in the Son possesses everlasting life, but he who does not obey the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of the Almighty One remains on him. Understand what is said, my brothers and sisters. But remember, he promised to discipline his children. We will learn to obey him. And those who are perpetrating, know this, that the wrath of the Almighty One will remain on him. You see, my brothers and sisters, there will be some things that will occur, and someone might say, well, that's the wrath. Know the difference between his wrath, his fulfillment of vengeance, and discipline. It's a difference. Discipline might seem like vengeance or wrath, but to his children, remember, it is written, we are not appointed to wrath, my brothers and sisters. So some of the conditions and events that we may experience may indeed be for the purposes of refining us if we are indeed his. Pray, believe, fear, know, discern, trust, and act. These are factors that must be evident among us. Let me continue. Leviticus chapter 18, 1 through 5 reads, and Yahuah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Yashar'al and say to them, I am Yahuah, your Almighty One. Do not do as they do in the land of Mitzrayim, where you dwelt, and do not do as they do in the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you, and do not walk in their laws. You see, my brothers and sisters, we must learn to walk in wisdom while amongst our captors. We must learn to walk in wisdom as we are scattered among the face of this earth. And we must know and grow to expect that the Most High will indeed bring his children, those whom he has called to fulfill the final exodus, together to a point of safety, to a place of safety, to a point where we will wait on the arrival, the physical arrival of Yahusha Mashyach, his return to fulfill all that has been written. My brothers and sisters, Leviticus 18, 4 and 5, do my right rulings and guard my laws to walk in them. I am Yahuah, your Almighty One, and you shall guard my laws and my right rulings, which a man does and lives by them. I am Yahuah. You see, my brothers and sisters, in order to guard, that means we must purge ourselves from the temptation of fellowshipping with compromising behaviors, using the excuse, well, no one is perfect, so we all are jacked or messed up. We all are sinful. We must press into set apartness like never before, my brothers and sisters, as end times get intense. And we will grow to know this is indeed serious. And I invite you to read Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 through 17. If you are not aware of the 10 Commandments, you will find them here. Exodus 20th chapter. My brothers and sisters, those who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father Yahuah, both Hebrews and Gentiles, or Arbi and Goy, know this, the start of it all begins with he who is the beginning. In other words, all of this that we face, it begins with he who is the beginning and he who is the end. So with that said, we must know who he is. Who is this person that is the Aleph and the Tah? Who is this person that is the beginning and end of all things? Consider Revelations 1:8. It says, I am the Aleph and the Tah, beginning and end, says Yahuah, who is, who was, and who is to come, the Almighty. That's Revelations 1:8. Revelation 21:6 says, and he said to me, it is done. I am the Aleph and the Tah, the beginning and the end. To the one who thirsts, I shall give of the fountain of water of life without payment. Again, Revelations 22:13, I am the Aleph and the Tah, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. So I say to you, my brothers and sisters, there are no doubts in my mind that we will witness a final exodus. There are no doubt in my mind that there will come movement, active movement, people that will act as directed by the Spirit of the Most High. Given that the flesh war against the spirit, and we have been known to be a stiff-necked people, know this: our Yahuah will be successful in fulfilling his promises. Yes, he will be successful, and if we're stiff-necked, he's going to discipline us, and he'll break through those who are to fulfill, and there will be people who will die, and there will be people left behind. But there will be some martyrs. Some of us will die for Yahusha's name. Let us not sugarcoat anything, but present the rudiments of all realities as it relates to what has been written and promised. I am compelled to believe that the Spirit of Yahuah, sent in Yahusha's name, has revealed to me, as well as others, that there are many details that must come to be before we witness the fullness of his promises to his children regarding discipline, vengeance, and wrath. As I can continue, remember, this installment brings attention to those 7 key words: pray, believe, fear, know, discern, trust, and act. Without such, how can we be obedient to the Most High? My brothers and sisters, allow me to repeat myself. Yes, again, in order for us to fully understand and embrace a relationship with our Yahuah, we must come to the realities that things begin with him and him alone. We must realize that the person in the mirror is the one that will face individual decisions that would ultimately bring us to collective decisions for an awakening nation. We must grow to understand what must and will come to be. Yashar'al, oh Yasharal, there's much work ahead of us. I must admit, in these recent days, I am compelled to believe that the spirit of my teacher, the spirit of Yahuah, sent in Yahusha's name, as it is written, he has really pressed upon me the need to understand fully what it means to trust him. You see, I believe we take that word for granted. And as I went through a transition, and as I go through a transition in my life, a practical transition, I find it humbling to learn and recognize how indeed I must trust him in all the things that are done. I must trust him in all that is set apart. I must trust him to teach me, to guide me, yes, even to discipline me, to refine me, to guide me, to direct my steps. And I say hallelujah, for I know that Deuteronomy 8:3 is real, that man doesn't live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Most High. And I know of no other direction to turn, my brothers and sisters. Hear these words. Times will get challenging, they are challenging, and they will get tough. But let us receive the discipline from the Most High and rise up. Let us understand the power of the shed blood of the Lamb, his atonement for us. And let us recognize the power of his set-apart spirit that gives us the audacity upon recognizing the shed blood of the Lamb to rise up and not be overcome with self-depression and self-condemnation. My brothers and sisters, we'll realize that the Most High indeed disciplined his children. Consider Hebrews 12:11. Let me read it for you, O Yasharal. It says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but grievous, but afterwards it yields a peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. So let us not keep kicking and fighting against one another if we know that what we believe to be true is not. Because our egos might be challenged, because our egos may be bruised, the sooner we can receive correction from the Spirit of the Most High, whether it be directly or through his chosen ones or through his teachers, his mores, his set-apart mores rather, his set-apart leaders and pastors and bishops, until we recognize that it is the point of the discipline is to refine us, to make us a stronger and better person in the mirror. We will also realize the life in Revelation 3:19, where he says, as many as I love, I reprove and discipline. So be ardent and repent. My brothers and sisters, I cannot stress enough the need to seek to discern the tasks that are set before us individually and collectively by our Almighty Father. Consider the words that I've presented. Consider the title of this segment. It's time for us to begin discerning whether or not those among us are indeed our brothers and sisters. Are they committed to worshiping and obeying the Almighty Father Yahuah? End times will prove those drawn by the Father, the Almighty Father Yahuah, will fulfill his promises. We will witness discipline, vengeance, and wrath, the realities of such which no man can stop. The time is now to strongly understand and embrace that each of us individually will come to recognize end time individual decisions are critical for the fulfillment of what is written. My brothers and sisters, I salute your patience, your endurance, your strength. I salute your fortitude. I salute your patience and your decision to listen to the words that I present. And I say often, a siren, a warning often repeats itself until it is no longer needed. I am presenting words I am compelled to say to an awakening nation. My prayers continually go out to you, O Yashar'al, set apart Yasharal, that the Almighty Father, in Yahusha's name, grant you good health, a sound mind, functional body, life, breath, a heartbeat. My prayer is that he gives each of us good health. My prayer is that we're able to also exhort and lift him up in whatsoever state that we are in physically, that we will yet praise him, knowing that these earthen vessels have an appointment to the dust from which they came, as it is written in Ecclesiastes. And our spirits will be with the Most High forever, those who are indeed his. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, let's continue to seek out the voice of Abba Yahuah. Let's continue to seek to discern his spirit sent in Yahusha's name. Let us continue to discern his chosen leaders and messengers. And let us continue to discern when he is asking one of us to speak or one of us to listen. Let us discern the importance of pray, belief, fear, know, discern, trust, act. Least we find ourselves among wolves in sheep clothing who give these terms no regard. If anyone fails to recognize these important factors, it may just be wise to come away from such. It may just be wise if they cannot identify these 7 key words of set apartness. It may be wise to depart from such practices. Remember, questions presented at the beginning of this message, they are important. They have answers. End time individual decisions are just that. End time decisions is your choice. But I tell you this, my brothers and sisters, those who are the Almighty Father's will be drawn by him. And his choice will become our choice for those who seek to do his will, for those who seek to worship and obey him, for those who are chosen by him, for those who must and will contribute to the fulfillment of all that is stated regarding the children of Yahuah. In Yahusha's name, I salute you, my brothers and sisters. Until next time, my name is Symmanayah. Shalum. Shalom. Shalom.